Great. So, circle of fifths, then, ladies and gentlemen. It's an interesting one. And what we're going to do today is we're going to learn what it is. We're going to learn how to use it, and we're going to hopefully find some interesting ways of using it as well. Now, if any of you, as we've just been chatting, know all about it already, that's totally cool. There's going to be hopefully just an opportunity to play along and enjoy playing. If you have no idea what it is, you will certainly walk away with an understanding of it. So, why are we learning about it first off? I think is a particularly good thing to say is because it's something that can be used to access music in many different ways. Okay, now we've been doing this whole sort of how to jam series, and it really nicely applies to it as well. It also applies in composition and stuff, but it does apply really nicely in this sort of how to jam thing. What does it look like? Well, it looks like this. Okay. What's going on? Well, we've got a whole bunch of letters on the outside, a whole bunch of letters on the inside. Now, the little M stands for minor, just in case any of those of you are confused. And we've got a flat symbol, and we've got a sharp symbol. All right. Now, what's happening is as we go round, just if we look at the outside line first of all, as in these ones, okay? As we go round clockwise, each note is a fifth away, okay? A recap of what is a fifth? Well, we've done 1,000,001 scales in these sessions, and we can just count the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and keep going like that. So each note is a fifth away, etc., etc. Okay? If you don't understand that, actually you can still understand this, because all it means is that each of these notes going around are the same distance apart. If we go the other way, actually they're a fourth away, which is interesting, isn't it? Okay. Now, we're just going to focus on that outer rim for now. But that basic idea of how those chords are laid out means that there's a pattern, basically. Now, what's interesting about this is how this pattern is laid out reveals keys, okay? So chords that we can use in a song. Now, we've talked about keys and stuff quite a lot. And the reason that is because it's super, super relevant to jamming, all right? Because if we can understand what someone's playing, then actually everything is so much easier because you know what's at your disposal. But what keeps coming up in these sessions is how do we know that? Now, I've talked about some little shortcuts like the first chord or the last chord can sometimes be the little giveaway of what key we're playing in. I've also talked about not worrying about that at all and just improvising using the notes that the chords someone's using, or you could even just ask someone, what key is this in, all right? But this little circle of fifths, the way things are laid out, means that actually we can kind of work out all the notes that are available to us and all the chords that are available to us in a quite an easy or interesting way. All right, I'm going to try and explain this. We'll take some make some little nice chord sequences as we go, and you guys can just ask questions, I guess. Okay, so let's have a little example. What happens is, let's take C, for example, okay? Now, we can find out all the chords in the key of C major by simply doing this, okay? Okay, simple, simple, simple. So all these chords are in C major. Now there is a little extra one over here, but we're not going to get hung up on that right now. Just these chords will work together. Okay, I'm going to give you a second example. In the key of G major, I can tell you all the chords and all the notes that I can use by doing this. Let's use some of these kind of funky looking notes over here. If I want to look at E major, I look at E and I can just use these segments either side and everything will work. To some of you, you knew that anyway, but to a lot of us, that's like, wow, that's quite a revelation, isn't it? And what it reveals is, well, it depends on your perspective. It either reveals that music is a very mathematical thing, or it reveals that actually we can use maths to explain some things that aren't mathematical at all. All right, because these little patterns just beautifully demonstrate the chords that can work together and sound nicely. All right, so let's just have a nice little example chord sequence for us to play along, just to bring it to life before we get into some more interesting ways of working. So I said C major, so we're looking for a little chord sequence in C major. Now all these chords will work. C major, I'm going to go the other way, F major, G, D minor, A minor, E minor. So using that, we can make a very, very beautiful chord sequence. Now to add to that, if we just use any of those notes, we can jam over the top of it. So if we know we're in C major, we know that if we play a C, G, E, A, D or F, it's going to sound real nice. Okay. So let's make a little chord sequence out of it. Let's take a C and let's then go to an A minor just because we're feeling very predictable. Then a G. We'll leave it at that. We'll just stay on that G at the end, I think. Sorry, A minor. Let's just get that going. And again. Cool, fantastic. Now let's work out our little chorus from that. We're gonna go, let's go to that D minor, maybe the F, back to A minor, and maybe the G again. I like that, okay. So let's put some text in here. Can we do this? I've never done this before. So we are going to go then, we're going to go C, and then we're going to go A minor, and then we're going to go G. Okay, and then we are going for our little chorus. We're going to go D minor, F, A minor, G. And instantly we have a rather lovely little song. Let's go twice round each, and then we'll talk about jamming through it first of all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and C, and then A minor, and then G. Let's do it again. Then to the chorus, which is D minor, then F, then A, then G. We might do that again. Then F, then A minor. Let's just do it again. And C. Then A. go. So instantly, from just looking at these circles and literally choosing some chords by random, we've got a nice little thing going on. Now, remember, what we're doing is we're seeing this from a perspective of learning how to jam. So this is just one way of working, all right? You could either memorize this or you could even carry it with you. So we've been able to create a chord sequence from it. Now let's try and work out some melodies. Now, working with this whole cycle of fifths or circle of fifths means that we do need to know where notes are and chords are. So it's not really the same as working by ear, but that's okay because that's a cool way to work. So what we've got is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes. All right, there is a seventh one, but we're not getting hung up on that today. All right, and we know that we can play any of those notes with this chord sequence and it's going to sound beautiful. All right, I say beautiful, it'll sound all right. All right, you can make it sound beautiful. The beautiful bit is something a little bit on top of that. So some of us might find that confusing because what about the little M? What about a minor, D minor note? Well, the D minor note doesn't exist. All right, it's a note on its own is always just a letter on its own. So we've got C, G, E, A, D, F. All right, so we basically got all the letters available to us. And I'll let you into a little secret there as well. We've also got the B as well. So what does this look like? Well, I will show you, or try to show you, a nice little way of looking at this. So what we've got here is the fretboard written out for us nicely. And what we want to look at is, let's have a little look at a C major scale so that we can see all the notes that are available to us. It's quite a nice little way to look at this actually, and you guys can hopefully find some new patterns for yourself. So basically this is the guitar fretboard, and it's showing us a little E major chord there, which is drastically unhelpful, but hey ho. All these notes we can play with these chord sequences and they will sound really cool, all right? Because the circle of fifths tells us so, all right? And that's kind of our little point of reference today. Now, again, looking at different perspectives, you could see this as just a bunch of scales, or we can just see all these notes we can use. It's totally up to you how you work, and everyone actually works really differently, all right? So what I'd suggest as a little exercise, an opportunity for us to jam along, is I'm going to play the chords, all right? You guys can play along with the chords with me if you want. Maybe you could do some inversions. Maybe you could just have some fun with that. Or what I'd suggest is you try and play a melody over the top of it using these notes that are now written out for us here. Oh, that's better, because that little G sharp was very confusing, wasn't it? It was very confusing. I do apologise. So, yes, these notes are there for you to utilise and create and improvise your own melodies. Now, you can think back to previous sessions where we've actually talked about how do you even begin to make a melody. Now, what we want to do is we want to be listening to the chord changes, be led by them. The chords are the voices in your head, all right? They tell you what to do, all right? They don't necessarily have to use words to do that, but you'll know what to do. Just sort of go with it and don't fight it. Okay, cool. So we'll just play through those that chord sequence again. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the cycle of fifths window. So if you want to take a little screenshot of that, you're most welcome if you find that useful. I'll give you a few seconds to do that, and then we'll go back to the chords and we'll just jam along and see what happens. Great, okay. So back to the cycle of fifths, and I might just write in the chords that we're looking at again. Oh, it's a shame that those chords disappeared, isn't it? So very quickly, C, A minor, G, D minor, F, A minor, G. All right. Cool. Blue. So here we go then. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Wonderful. Cool. Okay, so what has happened here? Well, we've looked at this big weird thing called the circle of fifths, and I've shown you that actually we can write a song from it. We can work out all the chords in a relevant key. Also, we can work out all the notes in that key or that scale. It works quite nicely, doesn't it? That was completely random. And we had a song, basically. We had 1,000,001 songs. It relates to just 1,000,001 songs, all right? It's just we can find within this circle of fifths 1,000,001 songs. So let's think about it from a slightly different perspective anyway. And rather than just looking at it in chords, we can look at it in a way of, I don't know, maybe creating like interesting finger picking patterns, for example, okay? So I'm going to work in the key of E major now, all right, which is actually a really, really lovely and almost underappreciated key, okay? Particularly for finger picking, it's lovely to dabble in. So let's look at that circle of fifths again, because everything's going to come from there. So I said we're going to work in E major. So if we want to go through a process of this, all right, we can find E, and then we have the segment to the side and the segment to the front. So we can do this, all right. We're not going to worry about the seventh one again for those of you who are wondering when that's going to come in. So I know that I've now got all these chords or all these notes. Now, for those of you who are confused by B and C flat, don't worry about that. That just really is there to confuse you. All right, just see it as B. Don't even entertain thinking about it for more than a second. All right, so this is just a B. Just ignore that little C flat there. All right, so we've got those chords and those notes available to us. Now, if we want to sort of reverse engineer this in like a jam situation where we're not choosing a key, we're not coming up with a chord sequence, we're trying to work out what it's in, all right? Now, actually, you can use the same sort of principle by looking at the chords, all right? So, for example, maybe they're playing an A. Okay, so if they're playing an A chord, well, it could be the A major, the key of A major, right? But actually, no, because they're playing a B. So it's you could kind of just work it out like that, okay? That's a nice little way of working out what key it is. Now that, of course, probably does mean you have to carry this with you. Or maybe you could get it tattooed on the back of your hand or something like that, all right? Please don't go and do that. But it's a nice little way to work out what's going on. Now, don't get confused by thinking that music has been worked out to this, all right? This has been created as a way to describe what we call fundamental harmony. What we mean by that is like Western sort of cultural traditions and things that are just embedded into everything that we hear. This is just a way of explaining that. The music came first, just in case you're going to get confused by that. So, anyway, here we are in E major. Now, we can play some lovely little chords here. Some of them are a little tricky and a little unfamiliar to some of you. F sharp minor, C sharp minor, G sharp minor, and even the B. Ooh. Alright, it's not so fun, is it? But it does challenge us a little bit. Actually, there's some really nice little alternative open chords. That's a particular favourite, that actually came up last week, I think, where we take a B bar chord, but we take that first bar chord away. So you've got essentially an A major moved up 2 frets. That can be really nice. Thoroughly recommend giving that a go. Anyway, I'm digressing. So I've got a nice little sequence that I've worked out here for you guys using this idea, but it's in a slightly different way. So let's have a look at what that looks like. What that looks like is this. Okay, so what we have is I'll cover that one up actually. we have some chords that I've just added notes to, taken from the cycle or circle of fifths. All right, and I've taken an E major chord and I've added in those additional notes. So let's just work through them one by one. Let's zoom right in. Okay, so the first chord that we're looking at is an E major, because we're working in the key of E major, which is nice and simple, and it looks like that. Okay, and then I've moved along the circle of fifths and I've added in the note of A. All right, now there's different places we can add this in, but this is a really lovely place to work, where I've just put in my little finger here on the 2nd fret below. Sorry, I'm just having one of those tuning days. You guys don't care if I'm in tune, really, do you? Andy, we had a conversation about this on Facebook, didn't we? Well, that was quite funny. Good. Okay, so now we're there, aren't we? Yes, that's a lovely little chord. So all I've done is taken an E major and then I've added my little finger down. In fact, we could just sit and spend the rest of the Tuesday evening playing between those two little chords. Let a bit of that post-lockdown melancholy come out through those chords. Cool. So then let's add in some other notes. Oh, this looks a bit tricky, Chris. Well, what I've done now is I've added in the F sharp, all right? And there's many different ways we can do this, but I'm going to do it by putting it in the bass, by simply taking my E major chord and taking my 2nd finger and putting it on the 2nd fret on the E string, but doing it in a lazy way so that finger touches the A string, so when I strum through it's muted. Now sounds a little bit weird until we resolve it, but it will make some sense soon. Okay, and then we go back to our E, and this time put our little finger on the 2nd fret on the B string for the note of C sharp. And then, this is a good one. Okay, it's a bit trickier, but it's well worth doing. All right, that's my little finger up to the 4th fret on the E string. Totally worth doing, all right? And I can tell if you're doing it because I'll be able to tell from your facial expressions from all of you. Now, your little finger should just be nice and lazy again so it mutes that A string. Cool. And then last but not least, I've taken that little finger and I've put it on the 4th fret on the A string. Cool. So, what have I done? I've taken the circle of fifths and I've picked a key, but rather than just working through loads of different chords, I've stuck with that one chord and I've just added in the notes around it. And we're going to build a little jam session around that. Okay? So, let me just zoom out for a little second then. And then I'll give you our chord sequence that we're going to have. So down here, I've just put it into a nice little sequence for us. Okay, so we've got this one, okay, which is the note of C sharp on the A string, then down to our E major with the C sharp on the B string, and then to the 4th fret on the E string, which is the G sharp, and then the 2nd fret on the E string, the F sharp, and ooh, what's happened here at the end? That's fascinating. I definitely didn't mean that, just in case you're a little bit concerned. Not sure what happened there. What we mean to do is to put just normal E major chord in there, just in case you guys thought there was some kind of strange theory thing coming. Okay, now this little second here that we've put in, you don't have to put that in if you're feeling a little bit lazier. Cool. Okay, so now if I just strum those chords, I'll just let I'll shut up for a bit while you look at those chords, see if you can play them. I'll play them through. This is what they should sound like, all right? A nondescript strumming pattern. Going to keep going around for a little bit. I'm going to actually take that 2 away, it sounds nicer without it. And then last time through. Okay, cool. So, just to remind you all, these extra little notes have just come to me from the little circle of fifths. Now, if you're struggling to play those chord shapes, actually, because they're pretty beastly, actually, some of them. But don't worry. What we're going to do is we're now going to add a little melody on top. Okay, and we're going to do that by looking back here again. Okay, so let's just check in, see where we were. So we're using the key of E major, and we're going to work with all these notes we've got to play with. Okay, and we can make a little melody with that. Nice. Okay, remember we don't have minor notes. We've got the note of F sharp, A, C sharp, E, G sharp, and we've got a B. Okay, just ignore that C flat. So we're going to make a little melody with that. Now, how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. I'm going to show you one little way that I would work with. First of all, I'm going to get the notes up here so that you can see them nicely. And where did I go? Lovely. Okay, we don't want that though, do we? Do we? Let me just engage brain. Oh yeah, we do. Good. Okay, cool. So these are all the notes that we can use, and we can form a little melody out of it. We can literally just take our pick. All right. We can just use our ear. We can just listen to someone else playing the chords, and we can just sort of maybe just take a handful of those notes. Actually, those little notes that I just played immediately sounded pretty beautiful. So let's just work with those, okay? So I just played E, F sharp, G sharp, and A, all on the high E string, all right? So we're gonna make a melody right here and right now with those notes. I open E, our F sharp, which is the second fret E string, our G sharp, which is the 4th fret E string, and the note of A, which is the 5th fret E string. I mean, we can do so much with those notes. Okay, and we're going to write a melody just with those notes. Okay, let's see how we can do here. We're going to add a little track. And there might have to be some button clicking going on here. As we go. Wonderful. We're going to take that away because that's all just very confusing, isn't it? And now, have we just made this very confusing anyway by doing this? We are going to get rid of these, I think. Yes. And make life that little bit more simple. And we're going to have how many bars? 5 bars up here. And voila. Okay, cool. So we've got our chords written at the top nicely, and now we're going to just write a really, really simple melody. Okay, and we don't know why that's added in a random 0. Oh, I do, of course, because that. So we start off our chord sequence with this chord, which is the note of C sharp. I think we're going to start our melody just with an open E. Okay, we're going to do it for a... Okay, let's do it for 2 beats. Okay, so we're going to play for 2 beats on the E. And then, I'm not even thinking about this. I'm going to play the E again. We're going to do 1 beat. And then on the beat of 4, we're going to go up to the 2nd fret for you. Let's hear how that sounds. Okay, nice. It's going somewhere. And then let's go up to the 4th fret here. Okay, and let's hear how that sounds. Cool. And then we're going to go up here. We're going to go to 5 for 2, and then we're going to go 5 for 1. Let's just go there, shall we? Something nice and simple like that. Okay, and then we're going to just go to something for the E. And we're going to go E. And then we're going to go E. And then we're going to go to E like that. And then we'll just repeat that round. And then we're going to have this. Cool, it sounds all right, but it kind of sounds a little bit weird, doesn't it, when we get to here, because we've got an F sharp and we're going to the E, so we feel like we've finished it too early. So I'm going to change this to a little F sharp, and maybe that'll make it sound a little bit more normal. I like it, but this bit sounds a little bit weird now, so we're going to just change that very, very slightly and see how this works. Kind of weird. Maybe make this last a little longer. Maybe get rid of that. What do we think? What do we think? Last little try. It kind of works, right? I don't know. Maybe some of you are thinking no. Maybe some of you are thinking yes. Excellent. Right. Someone tell me what change you would like to make. Feel free to unmute and go, do that, Chris. Or not. But we're going to be playing it for the next 20 minutes. So if there's something that you're like, oh, I just want to hear what happens when you do that, then say, go on, Neil, go for it, mate.
I want to hear that last bar repeated 4 times, not 2 times, because 6 bars is wrong to me. I want 8 bars.
Oh, you're one of those people. All right, let's do that then. I'm willing to go along with such symmetry. Done. Consider it done. Your wish is my command, Neil. Anyone else? Anybody else? So we're just working with those notes just from the circle of fifths. So feel free to change that melody. I did it really thoughtlessly, but hopefully you got a little bit of an insight into some of the thought process. Cool. All right. We're just going to jam it then. We're going to jam it. So what do we have choices here? Well, of course, you can do absolutely what you want, and I can't hear what you're doing. So you could just sit here and shout at the computer if you want. Well, I could probably see that, but it's up to you what you do. There's the chord line at the top here. You could just strum on the first beat of the bar. We're staying on that E for a very long time now. Now, you could also fingerpick it, which is actually where this exercise originally came from. Okay, that sounds really nice and folksy and a really simple little, if you want to play that little pattern I'm doing, going thumb on the bass and then going to a D and then going thumb up to the G with my finger and then the D. So that's bass, D, both with thumb, and then bass, G, D. Okay, and when I say bass, I mean the sort of significant note. That's for the more advanced players who kind of get that. Don't worry if you didn't get that at all. That's totally cool. Okay, so other option is that you could play the melody, which should be 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Okay, round and oh, even more times than that. All right, quite simplistic. Once you've got that though, you can make it sound beautiful by throwing in some slides. And just playing with the duration of those notes a little bit. Anyway, I'm waffling on. We're just going to play this round and round and round. I think I'll let the computer play as well, and I'll fill in the gaps a little bit and let you just play along. But please just remember, everything has come from these circle of fifths. Again, I've chosen a key, which was the E major, and I've just taken from either side of there. And I haven't even looked at the chords, all right? I've held that E major chord down and then I've just added some notes in there. Cool. Alrighty. Let's go back to here and let's have some fun with it. And let's get some...
Could you maybe zoom in a little bit because it's...
Can I zoom? Sorry, Magda. Was that Magda?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. Good to hear you, Magda. Can I zoom in a little bit? Sure I can. On the tab, yeah? Like this?
Yeah.
There you go. Good. Excellent. There we go. Okay, so up to you what you play. I hope you enjoy it. A quick sip of tea before it gets too cold. There we are. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I said I'd let the computer play around as well. And let's just take that metronome out because that'll sound a bit horrible. Good. Okay, here we go. Last time round. Cool. There we go then. So An interesting process of composing together over Zoom, which might be, well, it's the first for me anyway. Cool. Okay. Hopefully that kind of explains a little bit about the circle of fifths, a little bit of how you can use it. Maybe you knew about it before, maybe you have just not understood how this thing could possibly work whatsoever even after doing this, and that's okay. Maybe watch through the session again and see if you can just sort of take it on board a little bit. But ultimately it is simply a way of understanding what you have available to you, okay? And remember, you can reverse engineer it by just sort of looking at the chords that are being played and then working out a key by looking at those 3 segments, or you can use it as a bit of a composing tool like we did there. Fantastic.